Today, we are covering off Household 360 for wealth managers, how to deliver a data-centric blueprint with a data fabric for a greater share of wallet. Our guests today that are joining Dan are Tyson Rose and Kevin Fairs, and we're happy to have them here on the Learning Series. Just a quick bio on Kevin and Tyson. Kevin is a senior leader in international finance and wealth management with over 20 years working across the globe in international hubs, including Toronto, London, New York, Sao Paulo, and other emerging markets. Tyson brings over 15 years of successful management experience, including a variety of roles, which include product development, client services, and sales-driven roles. I'll be including both of their links to their LinkedIn accounts, so you can just follow them directly at your leisure. Now, over to you, Dan.
Great. So again, today we're going to be double clicking on a particular business line, but why does this matter and how does it relate to data centricity and a data fabric? So a quick refresher on this. It's really the idea that as an organization, really regardless of what you do, you don't want to be data driven. Data driven is kind of like how your fingers listen to your brain. There's no autonomy and there's no true intelligence that results from that. The way nature works and the way it enables evolution and human intelligence is truly intelligence driven that's powered by collaboration. So ultimately, the idea of a data fabric is to enable the collaboration directly on data across people, across systems, and creating an intelligence-driven organization powered by collaboration. And that's part of that big shift away from that 40-year-old approach of app centricity, where apps own the data and you're doing point-to-point integration, toward that future where data is truly at the center of the organization. It is central and everyone collaborates, both contributing intelligence and benefiting from intelligence, hence the collaborative intelligence concept. And in past episodes, we covered some of the technology considerations, how one goes about architecting their environment for data centricity in terms of enabling data collaboration, standardizing on data, and building new business capabilities. But today we're going to shift a little bit away from the technology and more talk about what it means from a business perspective, where really applications are reimagined as business capabilities that can be packaged. So again, in an app-centric world, think apps each manage and own their own data. In a data-centric world, the apps are the capabilities that interact with the data on your behalf, but they don't own it, they don't silo it, they don't fragment it, they don't duplicate it. So very, very different model. And in a business context, I've probably heard the word customer 360 or client 360 or household 360. Personally, I've probably heard that thousands and thousands of times over many, many years. And in a data-centric lens, it's not about customer 360 or household 360. It's about 360 everything because it's a network-based architecture for information management. So the 360 is really just what node are you starting from? And from there, you can navigate to any node. So 360 employee, 360 invoice, 360 customer, 360 household. That's what the data-centric approach ultimately unlocks. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kevin and to cover really what it means from a wealth management perspective.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Joanne, as well. Well, anyone listening to reference Dan's point, anyone listening to a presentation is asking themselves all the way through, why should this matter and what is different about this and why should I care? And rightly so. Well, a quick reflection on the last 10 months, the whirlwind that we've all gone through. Really, the expectation on the digital transformation in the wealth and asset management business is accelerated beyond anything that we have seen before. There's renewed emphasis on this particular business line with competition flying in thick and fast. Every single enterprise strategy is looking at, if you're a financial services company, you're looking at the wealth and asset management division to help bolster your revenues. And you're looking to do that, to quote the CEO of Credit Suisse earlier this week, you're looking to do that with discipline across risk, compliance, and cost. Now, you're doing this with the expectations from advisors and from clients that have increased exponentially up until now, but also accelerated in the last 10 months. They are relying more on tech, as we all are. You're seeing new entrants now coming into this particular space, and they're very much looking to take clients and wealth away from the more traditional providers. We're doing this amongst a period of time where we're going through the largest transition of wealth in history, from one generation to the next, with margin compression, and of course, not to forget the compliance and regulation, particularly around data, that is flying through the doors and will only but increase next year. And then there's the other piece where advisors are looking for stronger technological capabilities. And if you have an aging wealth advisor population leaving and you are attracting new advisors and younger advisors, they are looking for the best. So you're doing all of this. So why care? What's important? Well, what's important is none of this is possible unless you have the data at your fingertips. If you've not got it connected, and certainly where it resides in most organizations today, and most people that are listening into this call now or in the future will resonate with this, but the data is in legacy systems, in applications, it's complex, it's siloed, it's difficult to get hold of. You're listening to your advisors probably quite often asking for more and they can't get it because it takes time. They're looking to satisfy their clients who want more. So you've got this repeatable process that's ongoing and compounding, and it's all back to the root of not being access to data. Now, when you listen to Tyson in a few minutes from now, the most important thing that you should take away are three things. Number one, why Cinchy? Well, because we're the only data-centric platform that can connect all the data together. We're the glue that connects every system that is required in order to satisfy the advisor experience and the client experience. Once you've got that data in one central location on that Cinchy autonomous data network, which we call a fabric, with full persistence and controls and services built in, then you have that true, number two, golden source of information. And that is what drives the intelligence for the advisors and gives them the competitive advantage. And that's done with full governance, security, and collaboration built in a user-friendly interface. Your advisors don't have to go from app to app to app. On a single workstation, they can see what they need in order to be able to amplify the client experience. And in doing that, to Dan's earlier point, you truly do have the ultimate weapon in arming your advisors against the competitors and the new competition that's coming in. And thirdly, you don't have to wait to 2023 to get this done or 2025 on a roadmap. Cinchy gives you the ability to crank this into hyperdrive mode. This enables you to deliver early Q1, Q2 next year, if you're so inclined to do so. You take delivery of such a system down from years into weeks. So when you look at Tyson's explanation and you go through this with him on the technological side and the system, know that you're connecting the data together with us. You have a true metadata-centric operational platform to enable the client experience and the advisor experience to go to another level. True household 360 views are attainable. And thirdly, you don't have to wait. You can do this next year. And if you're unsure whether we're speaking the truth on this or not, then contact us and we'll do a proof of value for you and prove it to you before you buy. So next 20 minutes, Tyson will show you how to take simple systems, your core systems, your portfolio management, your financial planning, sales and marketing, back office operations, risk and compliance, bring it together to give you the advisor intelligence that will put you ahead of the competition and not behind it. And then we'll be back next year to show you what else you can do on top of what Tyson's about to show you. And with that, Tyson, let me hand that over to you.
Perfect. Is my screen up?
Yep.
It's there.
Awesome. So what we're looking at is an investment dealer that's looking to deliver data to their advisors using the data-centric methodology, looking across the entirety of their business from portfolio management to financial planning, marketing automation, augmenting CRM to ad hoc reporting to enabling fintechs to plug into their data fabric. This is an example of a connected view of that type of approach that an investment dealer can take to enable their advisors to run their practices more efficiently, but also allow them to grow their practices by leveraging the technologies that are available to them. So what I'll do is I'll drill down into a node. We'll go into our client master. And what you're seeing here is a blended view of Data that we take from multiple instances of the CRM, and in this instance, it's Dynamics. So there's a central and an eastern Canada region of that instance of Dynamics. We're also bringing in data from Datafile, so Broadridge. And what we're doing is creating a blended view of Broadridge's data file, which contains a lot of information that advisors need to run their business, to understand their customers, as well as CRM, which is what they're using in order to enable their touch points with their customers and kind of manage and report what they're doing. So if I were to quickly go and run a sync, I'll pull in some data from Broadridge. So this data that we're now syncing in, you'll see that I just added 2 new records. I added myself, I added my wife as well. So this is data coming from the enterprise data lake. That's where all of our data file information is stored. It could very well be flat files, but for the sake of us as an investment dealer, we're storing all of this information within our data lake. We build a connector inside of Cinchy because we want to leverage Cinchy to operationalize that data, because the data that's sitting there in the data lake right now is great for reporting, but what about the advisor experience and the advisor's capabilities to leverage that and actually operate on it? And if I go to my collaboration log, you'll see that we just brought that data in from Broadridge data file. And what I'll do now is I'll add some CRM data from my instance of Dynamics. And if I refresh this, again, you'll see that we have all of our Broadridge data here. And within our CRM, you'll see that those 2 records have now been enriched with some of our CRM data. So if I were to go back into my collaboration log, you'll notice that we now have Broadridge data file coming in. We've augmented that with some of our dynamic CRM data. And now we're starting to, we now have the building blocks of what we want around the entire customer experience, as well as our client master. So everything associated with the client, we're now starting to bring in from all of the connected systems that we use to power our business as an investment dealer, as well as what we're trying to do for our end advisors, which is give them all of the data in a format and in a way that they can use it and operationalize it, not just for reporting, but for how they run their business and their practice in general. So if I go back to our data controls, you'll notice there's a couple of things that I did here. So I created 2 advisors, and I've also created another user. It's an actual FinTech platform that we've created in order to provide a customer onboarding solution for an end advisor. And what we've done here is we've given access entitlements to all 3 of those users. So on the advisor side, they have view access to all of their data. They have limited capabilities to edit data, and it's very much around the CRM. So that's the only data they have. If you're looking at this client API that we've created for the client portal, which is a FinTech platform that one of our advisors wants to use, we've now allowed that FinTech platform to communicate with Cinchy using REST APIs, so services that we built out in Cinchy to be able to update certain fields of data. Within the access controls as well, we've created row level filters for editing and viewability. So whenever the advisor logs in, they're only going to get access to information specific to their advisor ID. So essentially their branch information. We've done the same for the API for the client portal. So what I'll do is I'll log out and let's log back in as an advisor. So now you're looking at my advisor dashboard. So it's not as rich as what you saw from my administrative view where I have access to everything. It's very limited, it's very restricted. It's based off of what that advisor needs. So if I go back into this client master table, you'll see that those 2 records that we created are here. They were 2 records that were associated to that branch. So I logged in, I can only see information with my branch. I've created a connected view of all of this data in Cinchy. So it's not just the client master, there's many more things that are happening. There's trades, there's the client bookkeeping, there's end of day reconciliation. There's a lot of things happening, but for the sake of this demo, we're just looking at the client master. So and again, if I go into my data file view, it's view only because it's read only. There's no write back. and the advisor doesn't necessarily need that, because all they're really doing is getting that data from the investment dealer, and they're using their CRM to kind of run their business. So the data file, think of it as more of reference data for reporting and better understanding their client, and their CRM is really where the work is done. So if I were to go out, and what I can do as an advisor now, which, if you talk to any individual advisor, one of the biggest challenges is I have all of this data, it's coming in. But one of the things that I want to do is I want to be able to go in and run ad hoc reports. I want to be able to work with a FinTech that says, they can provide me with the best onboarding experience for my clients. Well, that's a very challenging thing for an independent advisor, or even an advisor that works for a dealer, to be able to do if the dealer doesn't provide those tools. But with the data fabric, this is now unlocked, because now this advisor has access to all of this data and the tools to be able to power their business and work with those external parties. So one of the things that I can do now is I can now go into my experience. I can run ad hoc reports. So this is a canned report that I created, but I can very well just go into the editor, and I can use the drag and drop query wizard to build that same report, and I can get all of my client details. My query can be as simple or as complex as I want it to be. For the sake of this demo, I've kept it pretty simple. I can go in, I can create some metadata, some additional information on the context of that. I can go into my design controls. I can give access, and you can see right here, we've given that FinTech platform access to execute that query, so that the FinTech platform could actually read that information when they're showing all of this data to our end clients. And if I save this, I now have this within my fabric. So if I were to now think of the context of building out all of the API services, I now want to work with this FinTech platform that can do things that maybe I'm not getting from my investment dealer, or maybe it's something that I can't build, but they're offering this service and it's a service that I want. So we built out some basic API services to interface with that application so that we can provide a better customer experience. And now I'm an advisor, and you're seeing here, I'm now logged in. I get an email from the email automation tool that I'm using. I can now go click on that link. Don't mind the user interface. This was something that I built in 2 days. And again, this is just showing the power of Cinchy. So this is a FinTech platform that, if we think about this from the conventional sense, if I was building this, I generally would be in control of the data. But because I was using the data-centric approach, I was using the Cinchy fabric, this is just an app. So think of it as just a skin that's sitting on top of Cinchy. It could be as rich an experience or as simple as an experience as you want. We've created a very simple experience for the sake of this demo. So now that this email automation tool that I've been using has now tracked the user that we've sent these emails to, Tyson Rose happens to be that user or that client. He's finishing his questionnaire. So he's now back at that progress point where he's now going to finish it. So he's continue the questionnaire. So Alan, shout out to you. I use your image here. And again, don't mind the interface because this was quickly built. But what I can now do is, let's update my preferred communications. Let's say that we want weekly emails. Let's say I want my statements by email, and hit continue. So now I'm finished. So again, this is a FinTech platform that doesn't control my data, that I was able to plug into my operational workflow to provide a better customer experience. And when I hit submit, you'll notice that this is now taking me to the screen. But what I want to articulate here is this entire experience, all of these connected nodes that are essentially the building blocks of running your wealth management firm, or you as an advisor running your practice. It took us 2 weeks to build, with the application interface using a FinTech, with my investment dealer being able to provide me with restricted access based off of what I'm only provisioned to access, and all of this within a connected fabric. So all of the data is interconnected, and I can now provide a better customer experience. I can do ad hoc reporting, and the capabilities are now unlocked. So I can now start to deliver better solutions, not only for my personal business, but for my clients as well. So let's go back to the demo. And if we go into that app, I believe there's a questionnaire. If I go to that onboard questionnaire, let's dive into that. What you're now seeing here is a new record was created. So if I go into my collaboration log, you'll notice that that API or that FinTech platform that provides a better customer experience for onboarding, and it doesn't have to be onboarding, it can be any app, but for the sake of this, we'll say it's an onboarding application. That app is now decoupled from the data, so that it doesn't own the data. It's just using the API services that we provisioned for that application. It's now given my client a better experience based off of how I feel they should be delivered, the services that I provide, because I really want to provide the best service. I didn't have to contact an IT team. It wasn't hard for me to set this up. It was very simple using this, what we call templates. And if I go into here, I can now approve this record. So now this record's approved. Again, we created an approval state for this particular application because we didn't want to just pushing data into our fabric and that data is there. So we've enabled approval states. So now when I am in here, we've literally just connected into a FinTech. That platform has now provided better service. Our investment dealer provided us with a CRM, provided us with all of our Broadridge data. We created a blended view. We can now build all of our ad hoc reporting. We can start building on top of what we have here. So think of, we have the basic foundation of how we want to run our business, but there are many more applications. There's many more solutions that we might want to start building. And we don't have any integration headaches. We don't have any massive costs associated with us building out our, what I would call Wealth 2.0. And again, this can be delivered directly to an advisor. And if you think about an advisor wanting to power their workstation, or again, there's hundreds of FinTech applications out there that I can use to power my business. But the biggest challenge that I have is integrating into those integrating with those applications, because essentially what's going to happen is those apps are going to now start operating in silos. But if those apps were then connected into the fabric, they're not in silos anymore. And they're not in control of the data. The data is actually being controlled by the Cinchy fabric as opposed to any individual applications. And again, if you think about the context of how long it took, this took less than 2 weeks to build this entirety out. This can't be done. There is no conventional approach that can allow you to build this complexity of integration, as well as the capabilities to build the API services, to build out front-end experiences for our customers in under 2 weeks. And I think that's the real benefit of this type of platform as your building blocks to take yourself to the next level in terms of being a wealth firm or even an independent advisor that's looking at ways to augment their business and start to accelerate digital transformation. So I think, like, in terms of the walkthrough, is there any questions, any comments?
Tyson, we have a question here from Trevor. Hello, Trevor. As Cinchy controls the data, can you speak to the data governance capabilities?
So Cinchy, the company, doesn't control the data. Cinchy, the platform, is in, and I wouldn't say control of the data, but the data is residing within your data fabric. So you as an organization can deploy Cinchy anywhere you want. So if you wanted it in your private cloud, if you wanted it on-prem, you can deploy Cinchy anywhere. So Cinchy, the company, is not in control of your data. In terms of data governance, as you saw with the collaboration log, if I show this here, any data that changes inside the fabric. So when the state of any record gets updated, it's all being tracked inside of Cinchy. So all of this metadata of all of these changes, you can actually monitor and manage that, and you can create metadata experiences. So if I wanted to see all of the changes that were happening within my fabric, you can run reports on that. If you wanted to create metadata views of information for your end users, you can build those custom views for your users. So there's a lot of capabilities out of box for end users to kind of go in there and manage data and manage governance around data. And this is by default. This is out of box. This isn't, you don't have to configure this and customize it. You don't have to write any code to be able to uncover all of this information. This is, again, it's an out of box capability.
And Tyson, just to quickly add to what you just said, the process of connecting in data from other sources. So here you've demonstrated connecting a hypothetical FinTech skin, essentially an experience, but also Broadridge, and I think you were using the real file formats, and Dynamics, where that was actually a real connection, a real link. But each of these systems were independently connected, not to each other, but indirectly they are, because of the fabric being in the middle, facilitating that collaboration. But as those systems were individually connected, that's where you can capture the both technical as well as business metadata. So that essentially you're doing auto governance. It's governance as you connect. So the process of connecting a source, be it an Excel spreadsheet, a delimited file, data from a lake, data file from Broadridge, or any external or internal system or person or party, is really enabling you to manage the governance as you onboard to the fabric. So there's no after the fact governance. There's no separation of that. Think of it as it's really just enabling autopilot governance for all new information as you evolve your fabric over time.
Do we have any other questions? I mean, Tyson and the rest of us, with our experience in regulatory matters and data governance, and we could talk further, but to the minutes that we've got left, and we will stay on because we'd be delighted to talk to any of you that wants to explore further. But anything else? I don't see anything else in the chat box right now. The silence indicates that Tyson, you've done a marvelous job of explaining. So we will we'll leave it there. But what we will say is that you do need to test us, and we're always up for any challenge. But there's over 60+ years of experience behind this solution, and we've just scratched the surface of it. So we would be delighted to spend more time with you on a one-on-one basis. But we'll be back in the new year as well, to show you a lot more of the capabilities that we can put in augmentation to what you've seen today.
Thanks so much, Kevin, and Tyson and Dan. If you want to just put the slides back up, Dan, that would be fantastic. Just to let you know all the exciting things that we have coming for you in the future. First of all, you can just take your phone and you can actually take this QR code and quickly be able to access cinchy.com/learn. We'll be providing a couple of on-demand episodes for you. We'll be doing one on Cinchy Answers, making sure that you have some of your questions responded in a comprehensive way. We'll also on the 31st be doing the best of Cinchy learning series. These will be on demand and they'll be available for you based on your own schedule over the holidays. And then to kick off 2021, we have Sylvie Villieu, the CIO of Dropbox, who will be joining us to have a really good discussion on, if you want to scroll to the next slide, the big reveal. We'll be talking about how early adoption of a data fabric gives CIOs an advantage. We'll have lots of different parts of this onion that we're going to peel back and have some really good discussions around those aha moments where you suddenly realize where a data fabric takes off and leads you in a new direction. So I've put all of those links in the chat box. You can quickly hop on over to them. Again, all of our previous episodes are available on Cinchy TV. And if you're very interested in doing a deep dive specifically on this Household 360 that we talked about today, or any other topic, you can just click on over to cinchy.com/dive-deeper. Those are also available in the chat. And we're going to stick around if anyone has any specific questions that they'd like to answer or have discussed. After we turn off the record button, we're happy to stick around and answer your questions. Thanks so much for attending.